Hi Walbrook and Westbourne. In English for the next few weeks we are going to be looking at explanation texts. In today's lesson we're going to be looking at the features of explanation texts, and then over the next few weeks we're going to explore explanation texts further, and by the end of the unit you're going to write your own explanation text on the life cycle of a newt. Watch this video to find out a little bit more about information texts.
Informational texts include books and other types of text that are about real life. They contain facts and true information. In other words, informational texts do not have imaginary or made-up stories. Informational texts teach you about real things. You can find informational texts about many topics. When you've finished reading an informational text, you can show what you have learned by answering questions about what you've read. Listen to the information text titled Parts of a Plant and listen closely as you read along. Parts of a plant. Parts of a plant. There are 4 main parts of a plant: the roots, stems, leaves and flowers. Each part does an important job that helps the plant survive. Roots grow into the ground. They hold the plant in place. Roots also soak up water and nutrients from the ground. Nutrients are healthy materials that help the plant grow. The stems take water and nutrients from the roots and carry them to other parts of the plant. Plant stems also hold the leaves and the flowers up as they grow towards the sunlight. Leaves take in the sunlight and the air. The plant needs both of these to live. The leaf is where the water, sunlight and gases from the air are turned into food for the plant. Leaves are found in many shapes and sizes. The flower is where seeds are made. The seeds can be spread to make more plants. Think about what you have just read. What was it all about? The topic or main idea of this informational text is parts of a plant. Looking at the title is a good way to get a clue about the main idea. What are the 4 parts of the plant that we described in the text? The 4 parts are the roots, the stems, leaves and flowers. Do you remember that each part of the plant has an important job? What job do the leaves of the plant have? The leaves take in sunlight and air. They also make food for the plant. One way to show what you have learned from an informational text is to summarise it. To summarise means to give a short description of the important parts of something. Here is a summary of parts of a plant. Parts of a plant talks about plant's roots, stems, leaves and flowers. Each part is important because it does a job that keeps the plant alive. Notice that the summary doesn't give every detail about the text or the job that each part of the plant does. It just gives the main idea of what the whole text is about. The next time you read an information text, see if you can pick out some of the facts.
In a minute we're going to read through this text. I want you to try and find the features of the information text. So what things stand out to you that makes this text different from, say, a story? Right here is an explanation text checklist. This is all the things that a good explanation text should include. Could you make a note down of these things? And then as we read the information text, see if you can spot them. And then tick each one off as you find it as we read aloud. You need to make sure that it has a question for a title. It needs to include an introduction. It should include facts to explain how something works or why something happens. It puts information into ordered sections. And it should include a picture to explain something. So this is what the piece of information text that we're going to read today looks like, just here. Now, it's a bit too small to have it on the screen like that, so I've broken it down into sections and we'll have a look at each bit on each slide, but that's what it looks like usually when it's all together. How can we stay healthy? What is that? It's the, well done if you said title. So let's have a read through of this. There are lots of things that we can do to stay healthy and to keep illnesses away. Changing what we eat and how much we exercise can help us to improve our health. Read on for lots of useful facts and tips to help you be the healthiest you can be. We've got another little section and it says food and drink, and underneath that it says, all living things need food and drink to survive. The type of foods we eat and the types of drinks we have are very important. There are 6 groups of food. These are fruit and vegetables, starchy foods, meat, dairy, fats, and sugary foods. Some of these foods are better for us than others. Okay, we are on to the next section now. Fruits, vegetables, and starchy food. Fruit, vegetables, and starchy foods are very good for us because they contain vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals help our bones, skin, and muscles to stay strong and healthy. We should try to include these into every meal and eat them as snacks. You could swap your chocolate snack for a crunchy apple or try a juicy pear. Meat and dairy food. Meat and dairy food, like cheese and milk, are also good for us, but we shouldn't eat these more than 2 or 3 times a day. Meat and dairy foods help us to have strong bones and muscles. A cold glass of milk with your breakfast or lunch is a good choice. We are on to the next section now, sugary and fatty foods. Foods like chocolate and cake are yummy, but they are very high in sugar and fat. This kind of food isn't good for us. These foods should only be eaten as a treat and no more than once a day. Did you know? Sugary treats are bad for your teeth. You shouldn't eat these too much and you should try to eat them at meal times. A healthy plate. A healthy meal should have more fruit, vegetables, and starchy food than anything else. The diagram below shows how much of each kind of food should be on your plate. You can see that there, we've looked at that in our science lessons before. Drinks. The best drinks for staying healthy are water and milk. Fruit juices can be good for us, but they can have a lot of sugar in them. Fizzy drinks are not good for us at all. Exercise. To stay healthy, our bodies also need exercise. Exercise helps to keep our muscles strong. Children should have at least 60 minutes of exercise a day. What kind of exercise? Lots of fun things you already do are good exercise. Your heart should beat faster and you should be a bit breathless when you exercise. Some exercises you could try are riding a scooter, walking a dog, playing tag in your school playground, playing football, playing hockey, bouncing on a trampoline, and dancing. Remember to use the right safety equipment and to exercise carefully. Staying fit and well doesn't have to be difficult. You will be on your way to staying healthy if you eat the right things and move more. How wonderful it is to feel healthy. So did you find all the features? Did you manage to find a clear title to show what was being explained? An opening statement to introduce the process? Did you find clear steps on how or why something occurs? Were the events in a specific order? Did they use conjunctions of time, e.g. before and after? Could you find any
Causal conjunctions.
for example, because, so, this? Were there any illustrations or diagrams or flowcharts to make the explanation clearer? When we speak or write, we can talk about what has already happened, what is happening now, and what is going to happen. I wonder if you know the name for all of these things. Well done if you got this right. So they are called the past, present, and the future. Have a little read of these sentences. Can you spot the mistakes? I will give you a clue. They are not all wrong. Have a read through of these sentences. See if you can spot the mistakes. Can you just write down the mistake? You don't have to write the whole sentence. You could just write number 1 and then what the correction would be. Have a go at that and then move along to the next slide and check how well you did. Okay, so I'm going to go through the answers of that little quiz for you now. It should have been birds are born from eggs. So we don't say birds is born from eggs, it's birds are born from eggs. The next one, an elephant is a mammal. That's correct, that's perfect. An elephant is a mammal, that's grammatically correct. Owls and seagulls flies. Owls and seagulls flies doesn't sound quite right. Did you notice that when you read it as well? So it should be owls and seagulls fly. Fly. The next one, a penguin go in water. Again, when you hear it, you can already tell it doesn't sound quite right. It should be a penguin goes in water, so well done if you knew how to change that. A penguin goes in water. The next one, tigers and cheetahs are carnivores. That is correct. And the last one, reptiles has scales. Nope, that's not correct, and well done if you spotted that. It should be reptiles have scales. Well done if you got all of those right. So as I explained at the start of this video, for this week and the rest of the time that we're in school, we are going to be looking at information texts, explanation texts. But what are information texts? An information text is a piece of non-fiction writing. It gives information about a particular thing. So this could be Cleopatra, ancient Egypt, recycling, or volcanoes. So you are going to be doing your work on the life cycle of a newt. But what is a life cycle? A life cycle is a series of changes that happens to all living things. Every life cycle is the same for every generation. For instance, a fly's life cycle begins as a fertilised egg. The egg develops into a fly, which grows until it fertilises an egg or lays a fertilised egg of its own. The life cycle then begins again with the new fertilised egg. Watch this clip to find out a little bit more about life cycles. For your independent task today, you are going to write some notes on the first 2 stages of the life cycle of a newt. To help you with this, I've made a little sheet here which shows a good way that you could set it out so it's nice and neat. So you've got the date at the top, the independent task, and the title of your task, which is the first 2 stages of the life cycle of a newt. Now I've put stage 1 and stage 2, put the bullet points just there to show that you don't need to be writing in lots and lots of detail, loads and loads, just simple sentences that get to the point. That's perfect. So to help you with this task, you're going to need to watch this video here. In this video, you'll see the life cycle of the newt.
The female newt lays the fertilized eggs singly on the leaves of water weeds. A newt egg is rather difficult to see because a leaf is usually wrapped around it. Here is another egg within its envelope of jelly, very neatly wrapped up. From a distance, you can hardly see it at all. From an egg laid on a weed, it is very easy to see the newt tadpole developing inside the jelly. The development takes between 2 and 3 weeks, according to the weather conditions. After a time, the jelly gets covered with mud. This mud helps to hide the movement of the tadpole inside, for now it begins to be very active. It's becoming coloured too, with spots on its back. You can see its eyes and the gills it will breathe through when it hatches. When the tadpole is fully developed, it searches for a weak spot in the jelly and breaks out. In close view, you can see its heart pumping blood all over its body and into the plumed gills by which the tadpole breathes in the water. In a few days, it will begin to feed on the tiny water insects which swarm in the pond.
So your first bullet point will be talking about this stage here. Stage 1, your newt is an egg. And as we go into stage 2, you'll be writing about this. This is the larva. Larva is stage 2. Notice at this point it still doesn't have any limbs. This is what your work should look like. So have a go at this and I will see you all tomorrow.